Kujawsko-Pomorska e-Szkoła. Dzień dobry, witajcie moi drodzy. Po angielsku teraz będziemy mówić przez najbliższych 30 minut, dlatego że jest z nami już pan profesor Maciej Doksa. Dzień dobry. Jaki temat dzisiaj? Już widać zresztą.
Good afternoon. Yes, today we are going to talk about cooking. Good afternoon, students. So, as I said before, today we are going to talk about cooking. Something nice, something that, well, most of us do or will do in the future, something that is a very important part of our lives. So, I think it is also good to know something about it in English and to be able to talk about cooking and to express our ideas about cooking. So, first of all, let's talk about meals, about the names of meals in English. So first of all, let's talk about breakfast. Breakfast is said to be the most important meal of the day. Basically, there are two types of breakfast. One is called continental breakfast. The other, when you talk, of course, about English, it's called full English breakfast. So what is continental breakfast? Well, continental breakfast, in the past, as you can see here on the board, in the past, continental breakfast mainly consisted of pastries and fruit juices. What is a pastry? Well, pastries basically are things, usually sweet things, but not necessarily, which are made of flour and are baked. So all kinds of cakes, cookies, or other bakery products, and fruit juices. These days, such meals or continental breakfast usually also include cereals, czyli płatki, all types of bread, crumpets, fruit, yogurt, jam, and typically other cold items. For example, sliced cheese or sliced ham, things like that. So very often a continental breakfast is eaten at hotels where you can just, make your own meal. You have the so-called buffet table with all the ingredients of such continental breakfast on the table. You just go to the table, take whatever you like, and you make your own breakfast. So it's usually either some muesli or cereals, or we make some kind of sandwiches. Or, as it says, it can also include some fruit, yogurt, or other things of this kind. So why is it called continental breakfast? Well, because it used to be more popular on the continent, I mean European continent, in Europe, as opposed to the United Kingdom. Well, this is a picture of a, let's say, continental breakfast, and an example. So you can see a cupcake, babeczka, which is a type of pastry. You can see a croissant, or croissant, as they say in English, which is also a type of pastry. You see some fruit, you see some sliced cheese, some sliced ham, some juice, and so on and so on. Well, continental breakfast is usually, as we say, opposed to the full English breakfast. Full English breakfast is the traditional breakfast, type of breakfast eaten in the United Kingdom, especially in the past, but it is still quite popular there. Full English breakfast is so-called cooked breakfast. What does it mean? Well, it means that it is made using hot temperature. So by boiling or frying, well, in this case, it's mostly frying. And it is usually prepared by some kind of cook or chef, by some other person. Of course, you can make it at home too, but it is not like continental breakfast, which is, you know, in the form of buffet table. You just, you know, collect the ingredients and make your breakfast. Here you have to actually cook it or fry it, so it's hot. This breakfast is hot. And what kind of food items does it include? Well, first of all, it's toast. Can be toast, can be also, in the more traditional form, fried bread. Bread fried on a frying pan. It also includes baked beans. What is baked beans? Well, baked beans to jest właściwie taka podsmażana fasolka. Fasolka z puszki, która jest podsmażana na patelni. And of course, in English it is called baked beans. Fried sausages, czyli smażone kiełbaski, paróweczki. It's also quite popular and common ingredient of full English breakfast. Fried tomatoes, fried mushrooms, bacon, of course, also fried. And a thing which is quite interesting and typical for England and America, hash browns. What is hash browns? Well, hash browns is a type of dish which is quite similar to the Polish potato pancakes, czyli podobne coś do placków ziemniaczanych. What is it? Well, it's actually you have grated potatoes, czyli utarte ziemniaki, and you form a kind of, let's say, flat cakes with them, and they are fried. So basically it is quite similar, although not exactly the same as the Polish placki ziemniaczane. It has a little bit different texture because in the Polish dish, which we call placki ziemniaczane, we actually grate the potatoes into a pulp. In England, they are grated into pieces, little long pieces, and you form the cakes from this. So this is called hash browns. So as you can see, most of the food there is fried on the frying pan. That's why it's hot. It is quite heavy, I would say. It is quite fatty, but it is also very substantial meal. It gives you a lot of energy and it keeps you full for a long time. It used to be a breakfast of the working class people who actually needed a lot of energy, a lot of calories, something hot at the beginning of the day to keep them going throughout their work day. There is one more ingredient, which I see it now, I actually forgot to put here. It is not eaten very frequently, but it can also be an element of full English breakfast. It is called the blood sausage, or black sausage, or black pudding also, which is more or less something between Polish kaszanka and salceson. So it's actually some kind of sausage which is made on the basis of blood and some meat and some, I think there is some groats, kasha inside. So, but I'm not really sure about it, if there is groats, but it is very traditional thing, but because it contains blood, hence the color black, it is not really preferred by everybody. All right, so here is a picture which shows the full English breakfast. So you can see baked beans, you see fried egg, fried potatoes, fried sausage, fried mushrooms, and this kind of black pudding, which is, black sausage. All right, now, what about the other meals? Well, after breakfast, there is a meal which is called brunch. Brunch is a word which has actually been created, which was actually created using two words, breakfast and lunch. What is it? Well, in most simple terms, you could say it's either late breakfast, which you can eat at about, 11 o'clock, or early lunch. So the food that is served for brunch could be both breakfast type of food, but it could also be more lunch type of food. But I would say it's rather more like breakfast. Well, when you go to work or when you go to school, very often you take some food with you to eat there, to eat at work, to eat at school. And this food very often is in the form of sandwiches, or it can also be some other food, but it's usually packed in some kind of box, or it is wrapped in paper or some, I don't know, tin foil or something like that. So in English it's called packed lunch. In Polish drugie śniadanie, śniadanie do szkoły, śniadanie do pracy, kanapki do pracy, something like that, something that we actually take with us to work or to school. It's called packed lunch, very popular thing. A lot of people take it. You as students, I'm pretty sure most of you also take it to school. Then of course we have lunch. What is the Polish equivalent of lunch? Of course you can call it lunch or you can call it obiad. But remember, when you say obiad, it also means a meal which is eaten rather early in the afternoon. So that would be about 1, 2, maybe 3 p.m. Well, closer to 1 or 2 p.m. And this is called lunch. And of course, the dishes which are served there are usually, typically dinner dishes, let's say. So it's warm, cooked food, full type of dishes. Could be, you know, even 3-course meal. The next name of, or the next type of the meal is actually quite interesting because it's called tea. Well, we usually associate this word with a drink, yes, a popular drink, tea. But in the English tradition, tea was also a name of the meal, very light, very, well, usually sweet meal eaten with tea at about, well, traditionally we say 5 o'clock, but could be something around that, about, yeah. And it was usually some kind of piece of cake with tea, some fruit, something like that. Probably the best Polish equivalent for this is podwieczorek. Yeah? So in English it's called tea. It's very traditional thing. It's not always eaten, you know, or observed nowadays. The next word is dinner. This type of meal, or the word itself, is actually quite interesting. Why? Because this word in Polish can be translated both as kolacja or as obiad. Well, what does it depend on? I mean, when do we say that it's kolacja? When do we say that it's obiad? Well, you have to remember one thing. Dinner is basically a meal which you eat in the evening. Late afternoon, but I mean like really late, like 5, 6, 7 p.m. or even later in the evening. Could be 8, could be 9 p.m. And it really depends where you eat it. When you eat it at home, you will probably say it's obiad. But some people will also say that it's kolacja, yes? But the dishes must be typical for dinner, for what we call obiad, czyli dania obiadowe. To nie jest dinner, jeżeli nazywamy kolacją, to nie jest kolacja taka w typowym rozumieniu polskim, czyli na przykład kanapeczki, tak, albo jakieś tam drobne przekąski, czy coś takiego, co jemy wieczorem. Dinner, jeżeli to jest to kolacja taka obiadowa. Na przykład w restauracji. Mówimy, on zaprosił mnie na kolację do ekskluzywnej restauracji. Tak? To wiadomo, że ta kolacja się będzie składać z dań obiadowych, a nie z kanapek, takich jak jemy na kolację. Najlepszym polskim słowem tak naprawdę na słowo dinner jest obiado-kolacja, bo jest to obiad bądź kolacja, ale dania muszą być obiadowe. And the last one is supper. Supper to jest kolacja, ale taka typowa, jaką my najczęściej mamy na myśli, typowo domowa kolacja, czyli właśnie na kolację jakieś kanapki, czasami jakieś tam, nie wiem, paróweczki, płatki, tego rodzaju rzeczy, nie za ciężkie, nie za dużo, to wtedy możemy powiedzieć, że to jest supper. Natomiast jeżeli chodzi o porę, to tak jak mówiłem, dinner może być jedzony o 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, nawet wieczorem i wciąż będzie się to nazywało dinner, zwłaszcza jeżeli jemy to poza domem gdzieś w restauracji. All right, now the next issue, the next topic that I need to make clear is the difference between two English words, a dish or a course. In English, both these words, so both a dish or a course, can be translated as danie. Okay, so what's the difference? Well, a dish is danie, but it means an actual one type of prepared food, cooked food, which has a separate name. So, for example, in English, that would be a steak, of course, with some potatoes and maybe some salad. Spaghetti bolognese, paella, risotto, Yorkshire pudding. Yes? So this is a dish. To jest danie w znaczeniu jedno konkretne, osobne danie, które ma swoją nazwę. The other word, course, which also is translated as danie in Polish, it is used in a different context. A course is not actually something that has its own separate name. This word is used actually mostly in two situations. When we say, for example, three-course meal, czyli posiłek trzydaniowy, w sensie pierwsze danie, drugie danie, deser. W takim sensie danie to course po angielsku. So we ate a three-course meal. Also, the other context is when you say the main course, danie główne. You never say the main dish, or almost never. We usually say the main course, czyli główne danie. Czyli słówka course używa się właśnie w tego rodzaju sytuacjach, kiedy mówimy, ilu daniowy jest posiłek, tak? Czyli z ilu rodzajów dań się składa przystawka, nie wiem, czy zupa, danie główne, deser, tak? To są courses, czyli właśnie mówimy three-course meal albo danie główne, the main course. What's for the main course? What is the main course? Okay, so let's move on. When you talk about cooking, of course, you have to talk about all the processes, all the actions that you actually do to cook the food, to prepare it, to cook it, to make it into a dish. So what are the most popular, the most common cooking processes? Well, the first one is boiling. To boil. Boil is simple. You just have to heat water until the temperature is 100 degrees Celsius. So the water starts boiling, then you can put things into this boiling water. Czyli boil to jest gotować, gotować coś we wodzie, w takim znaczeniu. Trzeba tutaj uważać, ponieważ słówko cook to też jest gotować, tylko że słówko cook jest bardzo szerokim, ma bardzo szerokie znaczenie. Ono oznacza gotować w sensie ogólnie przyrządzać posiłki, czyli gotować, smażyć, piec, kroić, tak, robić w zasadzie wszystko, co zaliczamy do przygotowania posiłków. To jest cook. Natomiast boil chodzi tylko i wyłącznie o gotowanie czegoś w gorącej, gotującej się czy wrzącej wodzie. The next type of process is frying. So you can fry food. What does it mean? Well, you need a frying pan, patelnia. You usually put some oil into it or some other type of fat, and you put things on it and they fry, usually making a lot of noise and a lot of mess. Czyli fry to jest smażyć na patelni. You fry things, as I said, on a frying pan, czyli na patelni. The next process is baking, to bake. Well, when you bake, you usually put the food into the oven, piekarnik, where there is very high temperature and, well, you bake it. To jest piec, ale w piekarniku. Słowo bake najczęściej odnosi się do pieczenia ciasta, ale nie tylko, bo na przykład mówimy też po angielsku baked potatoes, tak, zapiekane ziemniaczki. Mieliśmy w angielskim śniadaniu baked beans. co jest troszkę fałszywym tak naprawdę sformułowaniem, ponieważ ta fasolka tak naprawdę na patelni jest podsmażana, ale tak się niestety nazywa. Generalnie bake to jest piec coś w piekarniku, tak jak powiedziałem, najczęściej ciasto, stąd macie nazwę bakery, baker, czyli piekarnia, piekarz. Roast. Well, this is very similar to baking, but it usually refers to meat. Meat that you put into an oven and you roast it. Czyli to jest piec w piekarniku, ale piec mięso, tak? Kurczak pieczony. Piec coś z rożna też, narożnie, to też jest roast. We have roast chicken, tak? We have roast beef. The next process is quite healthy, I would say. It uses steam and we call it steaming. To jest gotowanie na parze. Steam to para, so you sometimes steam food, which I said is a relatively healthy process. The next one is not very popular, poaching. In English we have a dish which is called poached egg, which in Polish is, I would say, in Poland is quite rare. What is poaching? What is poached egg? Well, you basically take the egg, you break the egg, and then you put the inside of the egg into boiling water. So poaching is actually a type of boiling. In this case, boiling the egg without the shell. In Poland, we hardly ever do it. In England, it's much more popular. You can do it also using some special tools so that the poached egg keeps its shape better. You can also smoke food. Well, the name says it all. You use smoke to make the product, to preserve the product, to make the product taste better, but also to protect it against spoilage, czyli zepsuciu. Czyli smoking to jest wędzenie. We have smoked fish, for example. Very popular. All right. What else about food preparation? What other types of action can we actually do when we prepare food? Okay, the simplest one is cutting. Cut, ciąć. I don't need to explain this. Then chop. Well, chopping is actually a type of cutting when you cut something very quickly and very finely into very small, fine pieces. So it's ciach, 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 ciach. In English it's chop, 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 chop. Czyli siekać, yes? The name also suggests what type of action it is. Dicing. Well, dicing is also a type of cutting. You usually, not always, but you usually dice some vegetables. You can also dice some fruit, I believe. It is cutting something into the shape of a cube. Cube, czyli sześcian, czyli kostka. To dice to jest kroić w kostkę, kroić na kosteczki, dicing. The name dice also comes from this little thing that we use for some games, this thing which has the shape of a cube and each wall is marked with numbers, bo dice to jest kostka do gry i stąd się wzięła ta nazwa kroić w kostkę. Grate. Well, I'll give you an example. You want to make pizza, so you need cheese. But cheese is usually sold in slices, plasterkach, or in pieces, in, bigger pieces. But you don't just put this piece of cheese on pizza. What we usually do, we have to grate it. So we have to use this special appliance and we actually make this piece of cheese into smaller, let's say, chunks. Grate to jest utrzeć na tarce. So you can, for example, grate cheese. You can grate carrots for salad. Slice. Slice is another type of cutting when you slice something into pieces which are very flat and thin. Slice to plasterek, jako czynność slice to kroić w plastry. Mix and stir. You have to be careful about these words because actually in Polish they can be translated into the same word, mieszać. So what is the difference between mixing and stirring? Well, you mix things usually when you have many different ingredients, for example, in a salad, but you want these ingredients to be like more, together, not separately, but, into one mass of ingredients which are, well mixed. So you usually mix things which are first separate, which are separate ingredients. For example, salads, yes? For a salad, you usually use a few ingredients and then you want to make the salad more, let's say, unified, homogeneous. So you just mix it to make it more unified texture. However, stirring, well, this is usually used for liquids. So soups, sauces, which are usually also, which are cooking, which are boiling or frying, and you have to stir it for two reasons. One reason is so that you don't burn the food because it's on fire, it's being heated, or to make this liquid more unified, more homogeneous. Czyli stir to jest mieszać, tak jak powiedziałem, zazwyczaj zupy, sosy, rzeczy, które się gotują, tak żeby się nie przypaliły, tak żeby też połączyły się w jedną taką jednorodną substancję. Tak? To wtedy używamy słówka stir. All right, what else can we do with food? Well, sprinkle. Imagine the situation that you have some dish, some food, you taste it and it tastes bland. What is bland? Bland means it doesn't have any taste or it has very little taste, czyli mdłe. So you decide you have to add some salt, pepper, spices, something like that to make it, more spicy, for example. What do? You, for example, you take a pinch of salt, szczypta, a pinch of salt, and you sprinkle the food with salt, or you sprinkle it with pepper, or you sprinkle it with some spices, or you can also sprinkle something with, for example, lemon juice. Yes? To jest albo posypać coś czymś, albo pokropić coś czymś. Well, it depends. The Polish name, of course, depends on what you use. If it is a solid thing, we say posypać. When it's liquid, we say pokropić. You can also spread something on something. What does it mean? Well, for example, you have a slice of bread, you have butter, and you want this butter to be on this bread. So what do? You take a knife and you spread the butter with the knife on bread. Czyli to jest rozsmarować, posmarować coś czymś, rozsmarować coś. So you can spread butter, for example, on bread. When you cook, you have usually many ingredients and just one by one you add these ingredients to the other ingredients. Czyli to jest po prostu dodawać. While cooking, you have to make sure whether the food, the dish that you are producing, that you're making is actually good, that it tastes good, that the texture is good, that you are on the good way. So you have to taste it, czyli po prostu posmakować. Another type of action is grinding. What does it mean to grind? Well, sometimes you have some food item, some ingredient in bigger pieces, and you want to make it into smaller pieces, or you want to make it, for example, like more delicate. So you have to grind it. For example, you want to make spaghetti bolognese, so you need meat, but you have meat in one piece. What do you do with this meat? You grind it. Grind or mince. There is another word. To jest po prostu mielić coś. You can grind meat, you can grind some spices, pepper, things like that. Drain. Well, sometimes you have some food which is very wet, or it's actually in some liquid, in some water. For example, you cook pasta, yes? so you cook it in water. But at the end of the process, you just want pasta, not the water. So you have to drain it. So you put this pasta with water into the drain, the water goes out, the pasta stays there. To jest po prostu odcedzić, osuszyć coś, odcedzić. Alright, when you cook, you also use some things, which we call utensils. Utensils are all these tools, things, objects in the kitchen that we use for either for cooking or also for eating. So what do we use? A chopping board. So this is a board, piece of wood or plastic, and you chop on it, yes? Czyli jest to deska do siekania, deska do krojenia. You also have cutlery. What is cutlery? Well, usually cutlery is knives and forks, czyli noże, widelce, czyli sztućce. We also use crockery, so things like plates, saucers, bowls, czyli zastawa. We also use food processor, which helps us to mix food, to make some food. To jest robot kuchenny. We also use a mixer. Well, the Polish name is the same, no need to explain. A grater. You remember grating cheese. So grater, tarka. You also use all kinds of pots for cooking food on the cooker, czyli garnki. And some more utensils, appliances, kitchen appliances, czyli urządzenia kuchenne. A cooker, an oven, czyli kuchenka, piekarnik, a microwave, a frying pan, patelnia, a baking form, forma do pieczenia, foremka do pieczenia, a food processor, we've already talked about it, robot kuchenny, a sink, zlew, and a tap. All right, I hope that I have made the secrets of cooking in English a little bit closer to you, so you will be able to talk about it or to understand maybe some recipes better. So thank you very much and goodbye.